I would like you to think about student debt and the toll it has on young students and families. This debt will haunt them for years to come as they try to buy a house, start a family, or even just further their education. As the demand for college degrees in the workplace rises, so does the university tuition, leading most students to live a majority of their lives in debt. My name is Grace Edwards, and today I will be discussing why university prices are so high and why we should take action and reduce student loans as soon as possible. To begin, the New York Times writes, "If colleges and universities were just another consumer good, like cars and clothes, we wouldn't worry as much about their cost. The rich pay more for the best stuff and the poor pay less for the worst. That's the market at work. But higher education is both an individual and a public concern. According to the National Center of Education Statistics, the average bill at top-tier schools such as Harvard is just over $50,000 a year. Fewer than half of their students pay even that discounted amount. Most of the top-tier private schools say they won't factor in an applicant's ability to pay when considering admission and promise that everyone admitted will be given the financial aid necessary to attend. Students whose parents make less than $65,000 a year, or at Stanford $125,000, usually pay no tuition, and there are generous aid packages available to all but the very wealthiest students. The mid-tier public schools face a different set of challenges. Their tuition increases are being driven largely by state government's unwillingness or inability to raise per-student financing. Stanley Baum, a senior fellow at the Urban Institute, says that in the 2001 to 2002 school year, only public schools received from 44% to 62% of their funding from state governments. Only a decade later, those levels had decreased to 27% to 51%. On average, students have lowered their per-student funding by 25% over the last 15 years. The average cost of tuition and fees at a private, nonprofit, four-year university was $31,000. At public four-year schools, tuition and fees cost about $8,138 this year. In the 1971 school year, they added up to less than $500 in current dollars, according to the Student Board. On the cost side, schools continue to compete for students by working to attract top faculty, build and maintain the latest facilities, and offer the next generation of students amenities that can be on-campus tours for prospective applicants. Among the most selective schools, amenities have become an important part of the race for the best and the brightest and well-off applicants, according to Robert Kelchin, a professor at the Seton Hall University's Department of Education. He says that schools are all going after a fairly small pool of students who are high achieving and high income and able to pay much of their own way to college. He said they're trying to build more amenities so you hear about the rock climbing walls and the lazy rivers, instead of the education you will be receiving. The rising cost of college sports, including generous coaching salaries, has also raised concerns, especially when tuition subsidizes money-losing programs and increases the financial burden on students who don't take part in those athletics. Overall, the level that institutions are spending on teaching and student-related services have been pretty much stable for the last 15 to 20 years, adjusted for inflation. So if the cost of providing an education has remained fairly stable, why does the price of students attending keep rising? The reason, say researchers, is that deep budget cuts in state funding for public higher education and shrinking subsidies at private schools have pushed a greater share of the cost onto students and their families. This then poses the question, why should we lower tuition and how would we? The benefits of lowering college tuition fees include the fact that higher education is often a standard job requirement in many fields, but also that lower tuition costs increase the accessibility of the education needed, which in turn creates social mobility that is often beneficial to the economy. Despite the advantages of low-cost or free higher education, few countries adopt their system due to reliances on government or public funding. Germany is one of the new countries in the world that provide free and higher education. University fees were abolished in the early 1970s. The German model relies on public funding to keep higher education free, although there is ongoing debate as to whether the education system should be government funded. Publicly funded Education is argued by some to be an advantage for a number of reasons. Firstly, the public is actively investing in the future of a country through enabling educational opportunities for people from all backgrounds. Additionally, public or government funds are normally paid back through the tax system once students have graduated and started work. Therefore, college tuition should be reduced greatly, as I explained, through the multiple reasons and causes. It is causing great turmoil on families, students, and the future of our careers. It's time we stand up together and say enough is enough. We deserve for our voices to be heard. We deserve reduced economic stress. We deserve now and forever affordable education. Thank you.